So weird. And come on, show me the timer, YouTube. There we go. We are live. And we've got a real slate on our hands. Wednesday, October 23rd, 11-game NBA slate. And joining me for the first time, Sal Vetri. Sal, what is going on, man?
What's going on, Josh? Yeah, I'm excited. I'm pumped. Yesterday was the teaser for the 2-game slate. Now we have just, I don't even know what to call this 11-game slate on our hands to start the season. I mean, it's a ton of everything going everywhere, but yeah, we're going to do our best to break it down, and it should be a good show. I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. For those of you that are only tuning in to like Awesemo NBA shows, Sal, you've been doing the Tuesday and Thursday NFL shows with Laffy each morning, right?
Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday at 11, and then Saturday with Chris to kind of close out the week for NFL.
If you're looking for anything else from Sal as well, is it Sal Vetri DFS on YouTube, or is it something different?
Yeah, just my name on YouTube, Sal Vetri, and then the Twitter is the DFS one.
There you go. So if you're looking for more content, Sal's churning it out as well. Go check it out. We've got a ton to talk about, a lot to look at, so I got to get plugs out of the way really quick. We'll start with this one. NBA Strategy is the promo code. This one you've heard me read off a million times. Burned in my brain. I'll be able to read this for the rest of my life, no matter what's going on. You can get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus using the promo code NBA Strategy if you want to check out everything we have to offer. And honestly, we have more NBA content. We basically doubled the amount of NBA content that we're putting out on a daily basis. We've got the strategy syllabus, cheat sheets. Alex is putting out top scorer boom bust potential. He's got a live blog. He's got a 30-minute stream behind the paywall for everybody. We've still got the strategy show, the deeper dive, live before lock, the early bird podcast. And this is just NBA. We're not even talking about NFL. Still got some baseball stuff going on through the World Series. Hockey is back in full form with Jake Hari leading the charge. College football with Ben. Golf with Ben and Jason and Tim. MMA projections, soccer projections, NASCAR projections. We've got it all, guys. Come check it out. You can use the promo code NBA Strategy, get a 50% off your first month with us. And as always in the strategy show, got to shout out Yahoo Sports. They are the presenting sponsor. Emacs got a cash game article up on the site. I've got the link for yesterday's as of right now, just so you guys can get the information. At the top of the article, you can get a little bit of detail on how to sign up at Yahoo. Use that link, use the promo code AWESEMO, and get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. They run no management fee contests. They usually have one or two every single day. They run a big NFL contest each day. They're now doing 150 max entries on some of their contests. They have CSV imports, not CSV edit yet. So be careful when you import those 150 if you do it, because you're still going through one by one until they get the edit feature loaded. It's just growing big time. So go check out Yahoo. Check out the information at the top of Emacs article. Sal, it's time to take a look at a little bit of lineup study. First NBA lineup study to look at now. I've got the $1 million opening tip-off up for DraftKings right now. They paid out $200K to first. And it only got chopped 3 ways at the top. One guy had 3 entries. One guy had 1 entry. Another guy had 1 entry. So congrats to those guys for threading the needle. In the top, let's see, 20, we'll say at least 25, no one had more than 10 entries. Who's the highest 150 guy? I'm scrolling, nowhere near it. Yeah, looks like the 150 max guys didn't do all that well in this contest yesterday. Okay, this can't be right. Now this is telling me that only one person entered 150, so we can just go ahead and assume that information is not correct, because obviously more than one person entered 150. How'd the boss man do? Let's pull him up. Any success for you yesterday on first day of the NBA season?
Yeah, I mean, small success. It was like a 10% profit type of day. So it was pretty good. I mean, the biggest thing was for me, like kind of suppressing a big day was just Drew Holiday, like not getting there in an overtime game. Not getting anywhere near there in an overtime game. So that was definitely the biggest piece. But yeah very heavy on Siakam and a lot over the field on Danny Green helped. And yeah, it was just a good day. I mean, when a game goes into overtime on the first day, if you have pieces of it, you're going to do well.
Yeah, Danny Green was the guy that I didn't have a ton of. I did have a lot of Drew Holiday, which did not pay off very well. And I played strictly on FanDuel yesterday. Just too many moving parts. My biggest issue, I tried to take a little bit of a stand on Rondo, hoping that he would play, given his projected ownership. I felt like that was one of the few spots where you could attempt to be a little bit different and get an ownership edge on a 2-gamer, especially on FanDuel with no late swap, like you're either in or you're out. Ultimately, he was out, and that killed me. But him being in, I felt like was an interesting way to potentially get a unique lineup. Turns out didn't work, but I'll take that shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, Drew Holiday, I think Siakam was my most owned player, and then I think Holiday was second. So that just held a lot down.
I had AD on FanDuel more than anything, but there weren't exactly a lot of laundry list of power forward options yesterday. So that worked out. Most exposed guy on DraftKings in the $1 million tip-off was Anthony Davis at 64%. LeBron coming in second at 60%. It's interesting to see Alex came in at roughly half the field of LeBron yesterday. Turned out to be a very, very good move. And then Fred VanVleet, he was the third most owned guy at 55%. Alex hit him for 80%. And Adam, ship my money, 98.7. A lot of Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, I mean, the guy had a great day. I think I was over the field as well on VanVleet. It was just a good spot for the price point. Like you knew coming into the season, at least what they wanted to do was play him more, and the guard depth there was just pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, I went for 56.25 fantasy points, second highest scorer behind Siakam. Alex was actually light on Siakam. So was Adam. Probably a function of ownership a little bit, but a little surprised to see how little they had here. Here's the most interesting piece of it all. So obviously, for anybody that paid attention to the NBA yesterday, Danny Green had 46.25 fantasy points. Not exactly what you would normally be projecting Danny Green for. Now, you're not surprised by him, shooting well, but 6.8% expected ownership on this 2-gamer, 0 to Alex, 0 to Adam. Not gonna get it done.
Yeah, I think that's a fine move too. I think that probably going into it's just the right move, how the slate shapes up. You need him to do what he did yesterday, and he did it.
Yeah. Winning lineup: Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Danny Green, Brandon Ingram, Melly, Lou Will, AD, Siakam. It's interesting. So they all had these guys in like different spots in the roster. Like obviously they're all the same lineup, but sorted out the people in a different way. I think that's probably a sign of optimizers.
Yeah, I guess it's a clear sign that it's just not the same exact lineup going in there, so that's good.
Yeah.
Melly was the piece that like all day I was wondering on, and I just didn't get nearly anywhere. Even like the 12% that he was at, I didn't even have that. But yeah, he ended up outscoring Okafor, which hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, so let's see. I would guess that the guy in third, actually, I don't remember. I think it goes by salary in Fantasy Cruncher. So one guy has VanVleet in the point guard spot and Lowry in the guard spot. And then the other two have VanVleet in the shooting guard spot. So that's a very clear sign that I would imagine one of these guys is not using Fantasy Cruncher at the minimum.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the same thing. I feel like I know with NFL at least, I think Fantasy Cruncher puts the latest player in flex, but I'm assuming there's issues with like 3 flex type spots on NBA that it doesn't do that, because it didn't do it for me, so I know it doesn't do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would have assumed. I don't know. Kind of crazy. Danny Green's in small forward at one, utility in the other. I don't know. I don't know how that would end up. It could be 3 separate. One guy hand built it. One guy used RG. One guy used Fantasy Cruncher or something. Who knows? Well, we have an hour and 20 minutes to get through 11 games. If Laffy was on with me, we would be in deep, deep trouble. I think you and I can get through this pretty well. You ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, chat. Be nice today. We got 11 games. We got a lot to get through. If we don't get to your favorite backup shooting guard, please don't yell at me. I don't have the patience for it today. Charlotte Hornets. Go ahead. What were you saying?
There's a lot of them, too.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Charlotte Hornets, Chicago Bulls, 108.5 implied total for the Hornets, 111 for the Bulls. Wouldn't have expected to think that the Bulls would be favored on the road on the first day of the regular season for them, but that's what happens when you play the Hornets. I have one guy to mention. Well, I got 1.5 guys to mention on the Hornets. I think that Dwayne Bacon for $3,600 on FanDuel is going to be a really hard guy to ignore as a value play. He's just a guy that's going to play minutes on a team that's terrible. And then who's going to stop Terry Rozier from shooting? Because there's not another soul on this team that is going to be able to score. I mean, Malik Monk's going to heave that ball, but who knows where it goes. Is there anything you like from Charlotte tomorrow? Or today, rather?
No, nothing really. I mean, yeah, Terry Rozier is like the main guy who probably sees the most minutes on this team, if I had to guess, out of anybody. And then after that, you're gonna have Monk backing him up. But like Devontae Graham was playing point guard in the preseason, not doing much, but I don't think there's any point guard minutes to go around all that much for him today. So like he'll be on the court just because they don't have bodies, or at least just serviceable bodies. So like he'll play the 2 and the 3. So like Devontae Graham at the 3, that doesn't excite me at all. You're really relying on shooting and nothing else at that point. So yeah, Terry Rozier is a piece that stands out. I think Dwayne Bacon should see somewhere around 28 minutes is what I'm projecting for him. So yeah, I think that's a fair value at the price point. But like getting these guys into my lineup, probably nobody here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not a great, but they're going to be a really, really bad offense. Probably the worst offense in the league for the season. You know, if they rank any higher than 28th in offensive efficiency, I would be shocked. But yeah, Bacon is the only guy on FanDuel that truly stands out. I don't even think there's like I don't even think in this game it's not even like a great pace spot if you go off of just last year, and like team total obviously not. This is just a really bad spot for this team. Why is ownership not pulling through? Oh, that makes sense, because I'm dumb and deleted the name column in my sheet. Great idea, Josh. Great idea. I'll get that fixed as we move a little bit further. Now the Bulls, much better team, a little bit new look. Satoransky at point guard / whatever you call him when he's not the point guard. This new scenario in the NBA where you play positions that don't border each other. Like Satoransky is like half shooting or half point guard, half small forward. Yeah. Justice Winslow is like half point guard, half power forward. These are not things that normally happened back in the day, but now that's where we stand. Anybody standing out to you from the Bulls?
I think the Bulls are like an interesting team today. I don't know if it's a spot where they're all just going to do okay and nobody really breaks free. So like the way that I'm looking at this is Wendell Carter Jr. is supposed to be back. And since he's power forward eligible, he might be the guy I have the most interest in, since he's not only center eligible, should play around 28 minutes today. Had a pretty fine preseason and I think less than 40 total minutes played, but did well. And then, yeah, you said Satoransky's there now. They got Porter Jr. last year as well. So it's a team that I think looks good. Like I would have a lot of interest in Thad Young if I knew he was going to play a lot of 4 minutes today at that price point, but he's going to play the 3 and you lose a lot of steals and blocks upside, and just you rely a lot more on Thad Young shooting. And I don't think you want to be doing that. So I probably rank it Wendell Carter Jr. and then Otto Porter from here. And yeah, Laurie at that price point, not too much interest. Zach LaVine stands out a little bit as sort of like the next tier down from the Dame Lillard and Kyrie Irving stand. So I think I'd probably get to the most Carter Jr. and LaVine from this game. But I think it's a real spot where they might just all like kind of cannibalize each other's upside.
Yeah, LaVine, I think, is probably the guy that stands out most to me. I don't necessarily think I'm going to be getting a lot of anything from the Bulls. I don't really have a ton of confidence in any one specific guy from a like major ceiling perspective. I wouldn't be shocked if Markkanen had a great shooting night, upped his rebounding. I wouldn't be shocked if LaVine starts to look better, starts to grow a little bit more. I just don't know how all of these pieces are going to fit. Working Wendell Carter back into the rotation after missing so much of last year. Thad Young now being a part of it, not really a guy that gets super involved in the offense. I think for 5,200 on FanDuel, that's a reasonable spot, but these guys are picking up no ownership on FanDuel right now. Here's where the ownership is going in this game, on FanDuel at least. I'm going to fix my formula for DraftKings when I finish this sentence. Dwayne Bacon at 28%, Miles Bridges at 13%, which I think we probably need to talk about. Miles Bridges for 6,500 on FanDuel and 13% ownership. Not so sure I agree with that.
Yeah, that's probably not a spot that I want to get to either. I want to see what the other like depth at that position is right now, but I'm sure there's something better that you can get to there. I think Miles Bridges though, like, is a fine play. Like, I was looking mainly on DraftKings, he doesn't stand out, but the pricing over on FanDuel, it makes it work a little bit better. But yeah, it's not something that if you're telling me there's 13% of the field, then I probably still come in like under that 10%, maybe at most.
Yeah. We got a question in chat, and it's relative to Dwayne Bacon. Is he in play at the minimum on Yahoo? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, $10 for Dwayne Bacon. He's just going to play enough. That's really all. Like, somebody's got to do something for the Hornets.
I agree. Yeah.
On the Bulls side, most owned player in the entire game, either FanDuel or DK, 2% to Markkanen or Wendell Carter. So no one's touching the Bulls. I can't really disagree. I like the Bulls. I think they're going to be greatly improved, but I don't think from a fantasy perspective we've got anything right now.
Yeah, I agree. I like how this whole team plays out, and I'm interested to see how they play together. But yeah, the pricing just to add other guys at those positions, it makes sense that the ownership is lower. I'll probably have definitely more than the field on Carter Jr. just because he's power forward eligible as well. Yeah, but nothing crazy.
Okay. Well, let's keep it moving because I think we've already spent too much time talking about the Charlotte Hornets. Sorry,
that's fair.
Sorry, Hornets. I don't. Do I have a? I've got my All-Star hat on. I was gonna say, do I have my Hornets hat on? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's the closest basketball team to me, but I still probably not going to get out to a game there.
I've lived in the state of North Carolina for 10 years. I have been to 0 Hornets games.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, you know, it doesn't seem like I'm going to be trying to get to one of those games anytime soon either.
Nothing's pulling you there.
Not a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not a big PJ Washington guy. Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons, 108.75 implied total for the Pacers, 101.25 for the Pistons. Yikes. Pacers looking a little bit different. No Darren Collison. He gave up basketball for religion. Malcolm Brogdon now the starter. TJ Warren was heisted from the Suns. Jeremy Lamb is here now. A little bit of ownership coming in. Sabonis and Lamb both at 13% on FanDuel, 6 and 10 respectively on DraftKings. If I'm taking anybody from the Pacers, I think it's probably Jeremy Lamb for 5,800. Anybody standing out to you?
Yeah, when you like factor it down by pricing, Jeremy Lamb stands out, and then Turner and Sabonis. The issue with Turner, though, he's only center eligible, and that's just a spot that I know he's not going to get into a lot of my lineups at the end of the day. Whereas even though Sabonis is more expensive, I can just put him in power forward. So yeah, just knowing how the lineups are going to come out, it's going to be probably Sabonis the most for me, and that Jeremy Lamb to a lesser extent. But yeah, nothing after that. I don't have really any interest. Aaron Holiday has like a value, should play a lot of minutes off the bench, but what you're hoping there is like 18, 19 points, and that's probably not winning you a tournament. So that's about it. Sabonis, Turner, probably I would have the most interest in Turner if he had power forward next to his name, but that's about it.
Yeah, this is one of those spots where if you see Turner's name or see Sabonis's name, TJ Warren's name, Malcolm Brogdon's name, you're not going crazy when you see it come up in a lineup, but they're just not guys that you can get to with a lot of value or with a lot of volume. There are a bunch of games later on with much higher implied totals than the Pacers. This is not exactly going to be a track meet. So I don't have much interest in anything here outside of Lamb. A little bit of Sabonis, 7,100 on FanDuel. I'm not a big fan of the Sabonis-Turner pairing, power forward center. It's as if they didn't watch the Jazz have Favors and Gobert for 2 years plus. One of those guys is probably not here in a year. Who that is, I don't know. I'd rather have Turner, but he probably has more trade value, but nobody really cares what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the reason they're doing that is because I don't even know if they have Sabonis right now if they don't do that.
Right.
In that starting lineup. Very
true. On the Pistons side, this one's kind of crazy. So the only ownership that's coming in with any sort of real amount, 16% ownership to $3,300 Luke Kennard on DraftKings. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not higher. As long as he is playing, like he's getting minutes. He is one of the few guys that they are going to be running out there. So for 3,300, I think Luke Kennard is very obviously the best play in this entire game.
Yeah, I think I might prefer Drummond more, but I think Kennard's in play. So like right now where this stands is, you have Blake out, you have Kennard questionable, but supposedly expected to play. And then Keith Morris is questionable, but leaning more so towards out. So yeah, it's a decent amount of moving pieces. I like Drummond at that price point, should play all the minutes at the center. And last year he was above a 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy without Blake out there. They add Derrick Rose, which even though Reggie Jackson's at a cheap price point, no real interest in Reggie there.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose, honestly, if Kennard does end up missing this, probably sees more 2 minutes as well and becomes a real nice play at 4,400. But yeah, I agree with Kennard. Like he'll play the 2 and the 3 and probably sees close to 30 minutes if he's actually active, especially with these guys being out. So yeah, 3,300 on a slate where there's value, but not a lot that's going to see that many minutes. Not great point per minute type of guy, but another year in the league. So yeah, he'll be a guy that I'll get in crunches for sure at that price point. I won't feel too great about like a ceiling out of it, but I don't think you need that at 3,300.
Agreed. Yeah, 3,300 just makes it easy. Like as long as he's on the floor, it's going to be really hard for him to hurt you. There's only going to be benefit coming there. And then we need to talk about if Markieff Morris ends up being out. Everywhere that I'm seeing is showing Christian Wood getting a big time boost. I'm not so sure I like the idea of Christian Wood and Drummond playing alongside of each other, but Christian Wood fills the stat sheet. He's a good point per minute type guy. Already getting 10% ownership on FanDuel. Look, there's nothing really to say until we know Markieff Morris's health. It really doesn't matter. If Markieff Morris is playing, Christian Wood is not in play. He's only going to play backup center minutes.
Yeah, I agree exactly. But like if I had to guess, I might think that Markieff Morris, just from like some of the sentiment that he sits here. And yeah, I think that after that you have Christian Wood and then they probably put like Thon McCurr back him up at the 4. So that's the issue for me is like I actually like Christian Wood as a player.
Same.
And fantasy value from him on the offensive side. It probably makes some things easier on the other side of this game for those bigs when he's out there. But yeah, then I might lean to get more Christian Wood, which will just naturally reduce Drummond at that point, which I don't know how they play off of each other. Because in the preseason, Wood was out there, but Drummond was out. So we don't really have a sample at all of that. And then, yeah, they don't have much power forward depth after that. Like, what are they going to put Tony Snell there? Like, they're going to have Joe Johnson play power forward minutes? I don't know.
Is the corpse of John Lure still lurking around, or did that contract finally end? Or did they stretch?
I have no idea.
Maybe they might have stretched him.
Yeah, I have no idea if he's there anymore. I just know that, like, their big depth with Blake out and potentially Keefe out is Wood, Miller, Drummond, and then that's about it.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I mean, obviously, I have no problem getting to Drummond, particularly at 8,400 on DraftKings, but center is loaded today, and there are a couple other options that I think stand out. I did run a dummy crunch earlier. Do I still have it open? I do. I ended up, this was just for FanDuel, I ended up with 14% Drummond, but I mean, there are like 15 centers that are viable, so it's a little tricky. I have nothing else in this game.
Yeah, no, that's it for me. It's just pretty much watch Kennard and Markieff.
Okay, perfect. Final 7 o'clock start. The Orlando Magic hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Whew, man, there are some bad basketball teams starting at 7 o'clock. Good Lord. Magic 110.75 implied total. Cavs 102.75. So 8-point underdogs in Orlando for the opener. Got a little bit of ownership coming in here. Jonathan Isaac, 6K on FanDuel, projected for 25% ownership. Aaron Gordon getting 12%. Nothing really coming in for Vooch on FanDuel, but that's actually not surprising. Again, center, super deep. On the DK side, DJ Augustine getting to 12%. Aaron Gordon getting to 12%. Nobody getting anything terribly crazy outside of Isaac for FanDuel. I'm not so sure that I think 25% John Isaac is all that appealing. I don't really have much interest in Orlando. I see this more probably as a defensive game, just locking down a putrid Cleveland offense with multiple young guards. I don't really get the sense that I'm going to have a lot of Orlando. Anybody stand out?
Yeah, no, I really don't have any interest in Isaac either. I agree on the ownership there. I get the idea that he's going to be a power forward there, but there's just so many better options. Yeah, Aaron Gordon, he was like locked into this low 6K price range all of last year, and he was a guy that you get to, and you have to just rely on him knocking down like 3 threes to have a good game. That's kind of what it comes down to, playing away from the basket more. So Gordon, I'll have some pieces of. Vooch I like, but yeah, he's right in that price range where Drummond is with no Blake. So you get there and then you start going up, and that's where all those studs at the top end are, especially on DraftKings. So they're all just center eligible. So I'm actually going to get to some Vooch, but yeah, this is a terrible Cleveland defense, but they are going to be healthier with their bigs to start the season at least. Yeah. So it's probably not a spot I get to all that much. No real interest in Augustine or Fournier. So yeah, it's a little bit of John or Aaron Gordon, and then probably a little bit. I'll see where the field comes in on Vooch, and I'll probably at the end of the day match it if anything.
Okay. Yeah, Any Markelle Fultz love today?
I hope he figures things out. To be honest with you,
Same.
he should see minutes. Like he should see a decent amount of all the backup point guard minutes. I would imagine.
That's
like,
what I gave him.
Yeah. I would imagine like maybe Michael Carter Williams sees some of those. Is he even still there?
Mm-hmm.
But I would expect Fultz to see all of those just based on how they went out and got him last year.
Guy in chat said, I like Isaac potentially on Yahoo, $16 price tag. I don't disagree there. If you're going to play him anywhere, 16 on Yahoo seems to be the spot. He's too expensive everywhere else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I like the upside of him like towards the beginning to mid of last year, just moving to the 4. That's clearly just going to give you more chances to have a ceiling and even a floor game.
On the Cleveland side, yikes. So 7,200 for Kevin Love on FanDuel, 7,600 on DK. He's 13.8 on FantasyDraft, $32 on Yahoo. I like Kevin Love quite a bit for 7,200 on FanDuel. He is the only like legitimately talented offensive player on this team. I mean, what like 20 and 10 should just be like what he gets if he's healthy, right? I like Kevin Love quite a bit at this price. And when I ran my dummy crunch earlier, I got to like 20% Kevin Love. If he's really 3% owned, that's a perfect spot for me if he's going ignored.
Yeah, is that FanDuel you were saying?
FanDuel, yes.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so I guess the upside there is, Kevin Love will play the 4, so he'll avoid a lot of Vooch where Thompson will be, and that just kind of crushes Thompson even at the price point. I have some interest in Kevin Love. I actually think, and it's not something that I'm going to get a lot of, but just looking back at last year, just trying to jump on rookies that might have some upside. I think that Garland's going to see a lot of time. It's going to be a guy that I doubt draws any ownership, so I'll have like 2% of Darius Garland for a guy that we know that Sexton's out there. He'll be playing point guard, maybe splitting evenly, but you have Sexton as the worst defender in the league last year. I'm sure they're going to give Garland every opportunity to do, if he does anything on defense, to see more minutes. And that might not start in week 1 and day 1, but I'm going to be tracking it. Garland at 4,400, point guard only, which is an issue, but it's a spot that I'll look at a little bit more as the day goes on. And then, it's really just Kevin Love. Like, I don't want Nance. I don't want Osman. I don't want really any of these guys. And then Thompson has a brutal matchup.
Yeah, I mean, if Chetty works his way into anything for me at 4,800 on FanDuel, I'm not surprised, but he's just not a guy that I want to get a lot of. My brain could just be mush on this. I'm almost positive I read that they're going to be going with Garland at the 1 with Sexton working off the ball, but I don't get the sense that that's like a distinction that really matters.
Yeah,
they're both going to play.
They're both going to play, and that's the main thing is like Garland's going to have, if not as many, probably more minutes than Sexton, like even after through a couple of games, if I had to imagine.
I don't know what they're going to do, honestly. I mean, they just need to play these dudes and figure out what they have, because they're playing for absolutely nothing other than learning how good Colin Sexton and Darius Garland can be together.
Yep. That's about it.
There is they have no chance to do anything of value other than get a decent draft pick and probably draft another shoot first guard.
Yeah, they have a really good chance at least bolstering their historically bad defense from last year. So we'll see how that goes. That's what they got to be shooting for.
Yeah, like if Tristan Thompson gets hurt, not that he's a little bit of a shell of his former self, but if he goes out, it is pretty rough in the front court. Kevin Love, not exactly a lockdown defender, except for on the final play of a Game 7 in the NBA Finals on arguably the best offensive player ever. But that's neither here nor there. I could still picture sitting and watching that. Only guy getting any ownership on DraftKings for the Cavs, Larry Nance, 6%. He's 5K. Yeah, I'm good. Good.
No, I mean, fully backup minutes, probably not getting there.
Are you ready to talk about like 2 functional teams?
Yeah, but like that is the worst pairing of like 6 teams to put on. Maybe not Orlando as much, but just a boring team to watch. Yeah, that's a terrible pairing.
If Blake is healthy, Pacers Pistons is like half fun for like who's going to be the best 7 seed. But
exactly, yeah.
With no Blake, those first 3 games are. Is there a slate that just starts at 7:30 so I could stop paying attention to those things?
There honestly probably is. That's actually like a decent edge. Is like those slates that are like starting a little bit later and an injury news drops. Maybe not this year with these like new rules on the injury. We'll see how that actually ends up working out. But yeah, I was doing that a little bit last year when there was a 7:30 staggered start.
Yeah. Who said it in chat? Where'd it go? Oh, Joe Kahn in YouTube chat. hit the like, yo. I completely agree. This is a perfect opportunity for everybody to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Coming up immediately after this, 11 a.m. Eastern, Week 8 first look at ownership. Laffy and Chris Spags getting it done, and then we have the normal later schedule, or the normal day schedule. NHL at 4. Alex will be behind the paywall at 4. Deeper Dive at 5. Live Before Lock at 6. And hey, YouTube crazies, Fast Eddie Fear is on Live Before Lock tonight. You guys don't have to like picket my house or like send me death threats because Eddie had the first day of the regular season off. There are going to be days where he doesn't do a show, so please don't burn it all down for me. I'm happy to do the show with him tonight, but good God, you guys were nuts yesterday. I appreciate the excitement, though. You guys got 9,200 of you watched this video yesterday. I'm not going to lie. Sal and I are pulling for 10K today.
Hey, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, if you're watching right now, hit it with an extra like, an extra little love. Tell your mom, your brother, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, send the link to the YouTube stream to everybody in every group message you have on your phone.
There it is. I like it.
The Brooklyn Nets hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thank God, two teams with actual NBA talent. 114.5 implied total for the Nets, 111 for the Wolves. The debut of Kyrie Irving for the Brooklyn Nets. The debut of Kevin Durant. If debut means watch it at home or sit at the end of the bench. Let's start on the Brooklyn side. Lots of ownership going here, and it's hard for me to disagree. Kyrie Irving is going to be the guy we need to start with. 9K on FanDuel, 8,900 on DraftKings, 16.4 on FantasyDraft, and $40 on Yahoo. He is one of my most exposed guys on my first crunch. I landed on 35%. We are projecting him at 30. He's at 21% on DraftKings as well. How are you feeling about Kyrie and his debut?
Yeah, I like Kyrie a lot. Where he's coming in right now for me is like in that range of all those upper tier. Like looking for a value guard seems okay today, but in the upper tier, like he should probably be $600 more expensive here, and that's why I'm just going to get to more of him. I have him like projecting out personally somewhere around like 46 points right now, and I feel really good about that against a team in Minnesota that really didn't do anything to kind of shore up their defense against guards all that much. So yeah, Kyrie. Obviously, no Kevin Durant there, and like Dinwiddie will work off of Kyrie now. It's going to be all the usage to Kyrie, if I had to imagine, leads the team in shots tonight, and a spot that I want to get to. I think I'm curious to see like how he looks on a per minute basis for this team. But I mean, if I'm him, I'm just going out there just trying to shoot.
See, that would be my first thought. I wonder if he tries to be like good teammate Kyrie to get everybody involved right out of the gate before he just goes crazy talking about
which doesn't hurt either for DFS, I guess.
No, I mean they've got a ton of talent around him. You know, Joe Harris can knock it down. Getting Dinwiddie involved. Obviously, LeVert can get his own shot. Yeah. I'm sure Jared Allen will be happy to have Kyrie around. So it could look good. And then my personal boy, Taurean Prince, big fan of him coming into this season. I rostered the hell out of him for the past 2 years. So might as well not stop now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good price point on Prince, and he's going to play, I would imagine, the 4.
Yeah.
Like a good amount of 4 minutes here, probably start there. So, yeah, it's a good price point on Prince. I got to see, because, like, for me right now, it's finding the 4K players that stand out the most. And I'm sure we'll know more when lineups come out. But, yeah, if Prince is at the 4, that's an upside type of play. It's a tough mismatch on the other side of it. But, yeah, I don't know who will start for them. They should start DeAndre Jordan at the center. I think that they'll probably play Jared Allen off the floor if Towns is going to be out there a lot. But it'll be interesting to see how that splits up. But for me right now on Brooklyn side, it's Kyrie standing out as a guy who seems underpriced on this slate and should have all the usage, point per minute production up. And then I do like Dinwiddie at that price point. I think I prefer – he's $1,000 more than Prince in a different position. But from the team, I would probably get to Dinwiddie before Prince.
So would I. I was mostly just touting him as like a personal pet project than anything else. Dinwiddie, not really getting much ownership. 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,400 on DK. I really like that price on FanDuel. But we haven't even touched on Karis LeVert, 23% ownership right now, 6,400 on FanDuel. He looked great before going down with an injury that I fully expected to be really awful last year. Ultimately, not so much. I mean, missed a chunk of time for sure. I didn't get as much LeVert as the field. I got to more Jeremy Lamb, $600 cheaper than LeVert. How are you feeling about LeVert now with Kyrie there?
Yeah, I think it's fine to get to it. I think the price point on at least DraftKings at 68, it's just a bit it's a bit much for me in this one. Like at $6,800, I don't know if I want to get there for what, probably 30 minutes, which is fine for him.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be rostering Kyrie, and even in the lineups that I don't, I would just prefer to get to Dinwiddie in those spots for what I'm projecting for pretty much even minutes between the two of them. It's just a tough price, at least on DraftKings, to swallow.
We're on the same page. I have DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen splitting the 48 minutes at center as of right now. Until we get some more information, I really don't know what to do with them. But without question, those are the only two guys that are going to be playing center for the Nets that I can imagine.
I have them both getting 24 minutes too. I almost wanted to move it just because, you have Karl Anthony Towns on the other side, and I really don't think Jared Allen can hold his own there.
No.
But we'll have to see how this kind of shapes up. It wouldn't shock me if Jordan starts, at least for this game because of the matchup. But just until we know how this rotation is going to look, I have it split, and it shouldn't really alter it that much.
Josh didn't watch preseason. That's why he's not on LeVert. Yeah, that's why I'm going to roster a guy, because Karis LeVert played in the preseason.
Yeah,
these guys have prices, right? That's what matters most. I'd play Karis LeVert if he was $3K.
You're lucky in the preseason if you get like this starting rotation playing 5 minutes together.
Yeah, let's see how Karis LeVert enjoys playing alongside Kyrie Irving first and foremost.
Yeah.
Craziness. Now we got to talk about the stud on the opposite side. Karl Anthony Towns, 11K on FanDuel, 10-1 on DK, 18,000 on FantasyDraft, 4,500 on Yahoo. Is there anything in this game that can stop him from just going bonkers?
I mean, I don't think so. Like maybe an injury or something, but this is the time of the year that they'll probably just run him out for like 34 to 35 minutes. And then like towards the end of the year, you start to get Towns playing just 30 and 28. So this is the time of the year you want to roster him. And if he's going to play Jared Allen, even if he only plays him for 24 minutes, I'm going to feel really good about that matchup. Like the only reason you don't roster him at high clips is because Embiid's on the slate. Jokic is on the slate right there in very similar price points. And Embiid may be a better individual matchup. But Towns at 10-1 is too cheap for this. Like we'll see. I think it's a product of just the slate, and there being a ton of them. Like they don't want to price up all these guys to 10-8. I don't know how it's working, but Towns looks fine. And at the end of the day, like you have those other top centers we'll get to, but who else is going to really be the guy to work through on this offense? Like unless Wiggins takes a huge step forward this year after taking many of steps back, it's Wiggins and it's like Robert Covington. So it's going to be Towns.
Yeah, he was the most exposed center for me when I ran my dummy crunch on FanDuel. I don't really see how that could possibly change. He's incredible. Everything is going to run through him. From everything I understand, they're legitimately going to try to run more offense through him, more in like the Jokic vein. I can't wait to see it. He's one of the most talented offensive players in basketball. I'm really excited to see it because there's no way that Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan can stop him.
Yeah, I agree. And they like talked about before coming into the year exactly what you said, but then also just allowing him to stay on the court for a couple more minutes. And he says that he's been working out with whoever, so just to improve his defensive side of it, which will help him to stay on the court.
Yeah.
I like Towns a lot here. And another small piece of it that didn't matter too much last year, but obviously no Derrick Rose, who's a guy who will take away some of that scoring upside production, was out a lot last year, but he's gone now. And it's really just Towns, and they should be working through him.
Cooter Brown in YouTube chat says AirPods cause tumors. Look, man, I'm killing myself with all sorts of stuff throughout the day. AirPods are just another thing to add to the list. And I thought I would hate them. I didn't want them for the longest time. Lofty was always talking about how much he loved his. My wife got them. She liked them, and she hates like earbud type headphones. Finally, I was walking around in there you go. I was walking around in Costco, and I was like, alrighty, fine. I'll check them out. Costco takes returns for anything. Now I can't get them out of my ears. I love them.
Yeah, I never wanted them. I just like the ones that stay in better. But just really quickly, my like old ones broke, and I got them for like $7 because I had like some sort of insurance, and they didn't make my old headphones anymore.
Nice.
So I was like, yep, Amazon, I'll take that.
That'll work. Only other guys getting ownership on the Wolves right now. Andrew Wiggins at 15%. I'm going to go ahead and pass on that. Mostly because he's Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that too. I actually like Covington because he'll play 30 plus minutes at the 4, and this is another good matchup. Like Prince is going to be the main guy aside from him on the 4, and that's no daunting matchup. So I do like Covington at that price point on DraftKings. I think it's 54, which is more favorable, I think, than FanDuel. So I'll probably get to some Covington, but yeah, it's mainly Towns, and then I don't want any of the guards here.
Wiggins for 11K on FantasyDraft probably isn't awful, but it's still not really me advocating for anything. We have Gorgeous Dong projected for 17% ownership on DK at 3K. I assume that ends up at 0 by the time all is said and done. He is only going to be playing backup center minutes, and it's not even out of the realm of possibility that he doesn't play any of those backup center minutes and they just go to Noah Vonleh.
Yeah, exactly. I have Dong playing 14 backup center minutes right now and nowhere else. So that's not where I want to be right now. Yeah, Vonleh I would rather Vonleh over him, but yeah, we're talking about just probably some kind of error there that we don't need to play him.
Yeah, that'll come out later. So, and there are no other spots for him to get minutes. That's just they don't have it. I have this as a relatively high-paced game as well. Guessing pace in the first game of the regular season is a little bit weird. So this is still just weighted averages from last season with the end of the season counting a little bit more. Turns out to be a pace up spot for Brooklyn and Minnesota. I wouldn't read into anything too much there, but I do like seeing that the indicators at least point positively.
Yeah, and I feel like Brooklyn would want to play faster as well, at least coming into this. So that would be my expectation. So yeah, it seems like a good pace spot.
Miami Heat, Memphis Grizzlies. This one should. Oh God, I already know the chat is going to freak out here. This is going to be today's Nickeil Alexander-Walker, which people were already talking about it. He played 12 minutes and went 1 for 10 from the field. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Just pump the brakes. 109.75 implied total for the Heat, 102.25 for the Grizzlies. We'll start on the Heat side. Most ownership going to Bam Adebayo, 22% on FanDuel right now, 6,900, 7K on DraftKings. Man, DraftKings has a lot of guys priced higher than they are on FanDuel today. That's kind of weird. Other than that, there's not a lot of ownership coming in, except for 10% going to Tyler Hero on FanDuel. If you have any Bam Adebayo takes, go ahead and start there.
I mean, yeah, I like Bam, and DraftKings is sort of like handcuffing. I saw somebody say in the chat earlier with the pricing a little bit. There's just a lot of guys that are in that 7K range that you want to get to, and it restricts a lot of things getting to the center. So really like Bam, the fact that he's a power forward. I think that, his point per minute production just goes through the roof last year when there was no Whiteside and he was the guy starting in a limited sample of games. So I'm going to get to Bam because he's the power forward eligible. There's other guys right next to him that I'll also get to. So nothing's going to break through there for me. That's my take on him. He's a fantastic player. He's more expensive on DraftKings, so you probably get to him on FanDuel. I actually no, because of the power forward, you probably don't. Just in terms of ownership, but he should play all of the minutes, and I imagine he'll just play at the 4. Where do you think Bam plays? Because I don't know where they're going to put Kelly Olynyk. I imagine just from what we're hearing, the 4, but it could go to the 5.
Ultimately, I think that he's going to. There's going to be some sort of like rotated trio of Olynyk, Myers Leonard, and Bam Adebayo, and like the logistics of who's who, and like Bam will probably guard whoever the 5 is.
Yeah,
and then Olynyk will Olynyk and Myers Leonard will both basically play as the 4 offensively. So I gave Bam 30 minutes, Olynyk 24, Myers Leonard 22, and I think that kind of just handles those guys. And ultimately, I don't really care much about any of them outside of Bam, and really Bam on FanDuel, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Myers Leonard is like the only one if you just want to squeeze something into like cash lineups for a guy who can get you 20. But again, it's like it's a good value. It'll spike in value spots because he's 3,100, but his like actual path to being in a winning lineup and having 30 points, it's just so severely capped because he's playing backup minutes.
We need to do this now. Okay, do you have any Jimmy Butler thoughts? 8,800 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings. I'm not like terribly worried about getting Jimmy Butler. If I have him, great, but he's not getting any ownership, and I'm not really worried about him.
Yeah, it's just a price point that I really don't have a strong take on it either way. Like if he ends up in your lineups, it's completely fine, but I'm not going to prioritize him, and I don't expect to get much of him at that price point.
Okay. We got to do it. 10% expected ownership right now on FanDuel. No ownership anywhere else. He's only 3,600 there. What are you doing with Tyler Hero?
Yeah, so I have Tyler Hero so Deion Waiters not playing, and so I have Tyler Hero getting all the 2 minutes. And I have him getting, well, not all the 2 minutes, all of his minutes at the 2 and getting 22 2 minutes. So that's Tuesday running wild. But yeah, Tyler Hero for me is probably not a guy I get to if he's going to get ownership. I'll probably be under the field. And look, it's a guy that went off in the preseason. So there's a natural ownership boost. And he did a lot of that being the guy controlling the ball, which in this one, when he's on the court, he might for some time, but Dragic is still out there. Jimmy Butler is going to be ball dominant at times that matter. It's just going to lead to a lot of situations where he'll be catching and shooting. And at 4,800 at high ownership, at a rookie, nonetheless, I'll rely not on him to make like 5 or 6 threes tonight. And if he does, well, then that's fine. I just hang my hat up.
Yeah, I will not be playing any Tyler Hero today. I don't care how he did in Summer League and the preseason. He is very similar to Nickeil Alexander-Walker in that he likes to shoot. Mm-hmm. Like 99%, all rookies, clear across the board, even ones that are supposed to be talented, are usually terrible. They're just not good. That's just how it works in the NBA. You'll get 1, maybe 2 that play as slightly above average players for their rookie season. It is very, very rare. I am not going to suddenly project Tyler Hero, a mid-first round draft pick, to be some sort of great shakes as like the 7th option on the Heat. Like, are we forgetting, like, the Heat aren't exactly like the team that rolls out rookies in huge roles. This is Jimmy Butler's team. I don't think the Goran Dragic is just going to like step aside for him. Justice Winslow is a key cog of this team. Hero's going to be there, and there's going to be days where he's just like, oh, Tyler Hero went 6 of 8 from 3 today. And you're just like, okay, shrug my shoulders and move on. But don't think that what you saw in Summer League and preseason is how Tyler Hero is just going to look. That's not how NBA works. If he does, it is a very, very unique scenario where he becomes the exception, not the norm.
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's the thing. Like, his just couple of just monster games in the preseason get you a inflated price point now. So like, if you very much value preseason where he's not playing with Jimmy Butler for all of his minutes like he will, or Dragic, and it's just a totally different rotation, then yeah, go ahead and roster him. But what you're paying for is an increased price point due to a couple of games that don't count, where he's like the star of the show being fed for a reason in the preseason. So yeah, it's just, if he doesn't do what he does in the preseason, you get him at like 3,800. So you're paying for a preseason performance that I don't want to do that.
Yeah. The only saving grace is that this is against Memphis, and they're an interesting team, to say the least. An interesting team that is getting 0 ownership across the board, except for 3% Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have a lot of interest in Joe Val if he has a minutes limit, I think, right?
Yeah, so I put him in for 20. I don't really know what he's going to get, but he's limited at the very least. So
yeah, I have 22, and yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're not going to get a 28-minute. Like, if he was playing 28 minutes here, I think he'd be fantastic at 6,600. But Joe Val, I don't even think you can put him on the table because they've like come out multiple times and said he's going to be limited for the first couple of games. John Moran, I think, is too expensive. I'm excited to see what he does, but at 2,900, only point guard eligible. Just too expensive at 6,400. Yeah, or 6,600. There's not a lot here that I like. I think like guys that stand out just because they're extreme value at the same price are Kyle Anderson and Dylan Brooks, but I don't want to be rostering them. Going to get their minutes at like the 2 and the 3 primarily, and they're just terrible point per minute producers. So like Dylan Brooks should see 30 minutes at the 2 or somewhere around there, and that's not a guy that I want to hang my hat on. It's a cheap price tag, but you need him to make like 3 or 4 threes, and he's not the type of guy that really does that.
Maybe if it was Marshawn Brooks, I'd be interested, but not Dylan Brooks. Sometimes I get those guys confused, like other NBA front office guys.
What is Josh Jackson like on this team still? Like, what happened with him? Did they let him go?
No. Keeping up with everything has been really difficult over the past. I know you and I were both listening to the exact same podcasts.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive that not only is he still on the team, that they picked up his option.
Yeah, I think that's like, I was looking on RotoWorld earlier, and that's what I saw. But they like don't want to play him then? I don't know. I saw like a lot of stuff that he might not even step on the court.
I think that they're going to use him as like salary for trades if and when they ever need to get rid of Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, that's the other thing we should talk about. That Andre Iguodala is just not stepping on the court because he hates the team.
Yeah. I mean, there's no upside for Andre Iguodala to play any minutes for the Grizzlies. He'll be on a contender by February. He's on the Roger Clemens plan now. He's just going to come in for half the season.
It's just funny that he's like, I'm not showing up tonight. I'm just not playing. That's like literally what he's doing. It's funny to actually, it's getting like no steam, but that's what he's doing. Since he got traded there, he's like, I might go to Memphis somewhere. And then he does. And now he's like, I'm not stepping on the court.
Yeah. Chat saying Jackson's in the G League. So there's that.
Okay.
Kind of surprising, but hey, anytime that you can get Bruno Caboclo minutes, got to do it.
You got to do it.
I guess that's probably a sign of just how much nobody wants Josh Jackson around either. So,
I remember Josh Jackson towards the end of last year had like a 60-point DK day, and he kind of sailed off on that one.
Starting the season in the G League. There we go. I can't really advocate for anything from Memphis. The guys that I would like to play are priced like they should be. And as much as I think Ja Morant is going to be good, he could have 10 turnovers every game in the NBA, and he's 7,500. There's just I don't want the Grizzlies.
Yep, yeah, I agree. There's not much to get to. There's like very bad value from them.
Biggest game maybe biggest or second biggest game on the entire slate. The Philadelphia 76ers hosting the Boston Celtics. 108 implied total for the Sixers, 103 for the Celtics. When I looked at this last night with Adam, my first thought was like, don't really like Embiid. Tough matchup. And then I remembered that Al Horford is playing alongside of him and not across from him, and that Enes Kanter is actually the center for the Celtics. So we'll start with Embiid, 11-2 on FanDuel, 9,800 on DraftKings. Is there any scenario where Joel Embiid doesn't eat Boston alive?
No, there's not. Yeah, I thought the same thing. So for the people who are going to say like, oh, well, now this team in Philly is loaded, Horford's there, Richardson's there. It was the same thing last year, and they had an MVP caliber season for Embiid. It's going to work through him the whole time. At the beginning of the season, they said that he's going to have his normal minutes, so you should see like 32 or so minutes from him. And yeah, he's going to face Enes Kanter, just like notoriously known for not playing defense or at least trying and failing. And then after that, he's going to face like Robert Williams for 10 minutes. So, Joel Embiid is, I think, my favorite pay-up center on the board. I have him over Towns slightly. That's not a knock on Towns. I just like the matchup that much more. I'm not worried about production just being split up between Simmons and those guys. It's going to work through Embiid. It's actually going to probably just hurt Horford in terms of like his rebounding and double-double overall upside on this team. But nothing impacting Embiid for me. Yeah, the matchup is just so good. Like the ideal matchup for him is probably Enes Kanter, and he's facing him.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not projected for more ownership. I understand it, and with only one center on FanDuel, you can only get so much ownership to anybody. Only guys in double figures in ownership: Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Hassan Whiteside, and Thomas Bryant. We'll get to some of those. Any amount of Joel Embiid that shows up in my lineups, I'm cool with it. It's really hard to separate Embiid, Towns, and Jokic at the top today. They're just three really talented basketball players, all with similar price tags, all with good-ish matchups that are, Embiid, Jokic, Towns is, not out of the realm of possibility for being the first, second, and third team centers by the end of the season. So, liking one and not liking the other, or liking one more than the other, is not an indictment on anybody. No one's freaking out by getting any one of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like and the ownership's following it. Embiid's a little bit behind on DraftKings, 12%. The other two guys are coming in even at 18. So it's at that point, there's no real edge in the pricing all that much, no real edge in the ownership. It's just whose matchup do you feel the best in personally, because they're all going to grade out for like damn near 50 fantasy points. So it's just the end of the day, you probably get even exposures if you're playing a lot of lineups or close to that.
You liking anything else from Philly? We've got Tobias Harris just over double-digit ownership, 12 on FanDuel, 11 on DK. A little bit of love going to Horford as well, but not much else coming in. Ben Simmons going completely unowned, but a little expensive. I don't know. Maybe he's going to be jacking threes.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Philly right now, Horford is a nice price point, and he's power forward eligible, but probably doesn't play that many center minutes, if any. And the problem with him is when he's going to be running alongside Embiid for the majority of the game, you just lose the upside in him snagging rebounds. Like Embiid's going to eat all the rebounds and probably just all the scoring too. So Embiid or Horford at the price point in the past, fantastic spot on this team. Not something I really want to play. Harris's price a little bit much. Yeah, I'm not going to get to this team. I think Richardson is a guy that we know needs to get hot. And that's a spot at 5,500 that I'm willing to have very small, like single digit exposure to. And then Simmons price too much. So yeah, it's really just Embiid and maybe a small amount of Josh Richardson, who I imagine is unowned.
Same position. Yeah, Richardson completely unowned. On the Boston side, Kemba Walker making his debut. Jaylen Brown playing his first game with a bunch of money in his pocket. Enes Kanter making his debut. Gordon Hayward starting off a new season, probably more healthy than he was at any point in time during last season. Kemba Walker, 1% owned on FanDuel. Jason Tatum, 1% owned on FanDuel. Everybody else is below that. Is there a Celtic that you want?
Yeah, I think I like Jaylen Brown the most.
Okay.
When we on DraftKings, when we factor in the price point of what is he over there? He's only 5K. Yeah, he's gonna be like just predominantly a shooting guard, so you need to rely on the scoring. But he's a guy who gets active everywhere. So I like Jaylen Brown the most. The price tag on Kemba is very interesting, and that's probably somewhere where I have to look into and try and see in that range of like the Zach Levines and the Kembas on DraftKings if I want to get there. But I probably would lean that I'm not going to. Whatever the field's at on him, I would expect him under it. The thing that stands out the most for me is Jaylen Brown, and I imagine that's where I'll get primarily. Nothing else really stands out. Marcus Smart will be across the board at different positions, and Gordon Hayward, not the type of play that I want to play right now. Predominantly playing at the 3, needing to depend on the scoring. So yeah, right now it's just going to be Brown. What do you think?
I don't think that I end up with much of anything. The guy that I got the most of was Kemba, 9%. I got 6% Tatum and like 1 or 2% of a couple other guys. I'm just not really on anything from Boston. I would imagine it doesn't change, mostly because their rotation isn't super weird to me. You know the guys that are going to play. There's not a lot of like wild cards where someone could end up being a value. Kemba, Tatum, Brown, Cantor, Hayward, Smart. Those guys are going to get, 24 plus minutes, depending on how much Cantor plays, but everybody else is going to play around 30. So yeah. Somebody's going to play really well. Somebody's going to underperform. I don't think there's any real rhyme or reason in figuring out who's going to be that guy. I would just mostly want to stay away from Boston. I think Philly is a top 3 defense this season. That Embiid, Simmons, Harris, Horford, Richardson lineup is absolutely terrifying. If they can slow Kemba down at all, it's going to be hard for Boston to find a shot.
Yeah, and that's actually true to weigh that a lot. The guy getting to Brown is like a pricing play, but then when you factor in that Richardson will be on him, that's really tough. And probably Richardson on him. And that would be the best matchup for Brown, I would imagine. So yeah, that's really tough. It's a pricing thing that get to a small amount of it. But yeah, it's really worthy of noting that Raptors last year were a crazy good defense. No Kawhi now. Like this is maybe the best defense in the league, I would say. Like it's just scary. And when it comes down to it at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if they stay healthy. It's like one of the best that we've seen in years.
I mean, to put it in perspective, there are 5 teams today that have an implied total of 103 or below. Pistons, Cavs, Grizzlies, Knicks, Celtics. One of those things is not like the other. So that's a testament to just how good Philly is on D. They're making Boston's offense look like 3 high lottery teams and whatever the Pistons are when Blake Griffin doesn't play.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a really good point to just that Philly defense you probably want to avoid when a team is so dispersed and just distributed, really.
Quick plug here before we get to the 8:30 games. We've got 5 to go. Free content on Awesemo.com today. Adam will be writing the NBA deep dive that should come out in the early afternoon. That piece of content will be free. Adam writes a tomb. Laffy writes it on the alternating days. These guys put up a lot of information on an 11 gamer. There's going to be a lot to check out. So you guys can check that out today for free. Also, the NFL Top Stack tool will be free today. That doesn't make sense. Is it really? Am I reading that right? Well, if you want to know who the top stacks, ownership is coming out today, so that will make some sense. First run of the NFL Top Stack tool. If you want to see how you're looking for Sunday, get an idea of who maybe the undervalued stacks will be. That tool will be free as well. But for a second, I got confused and started thinking it was like Thursday. Not the case. Mavericks and Wizards. I'm really pumped for this one. 115 implied total for the Mavs. 106.5 for the Wizards. The debut of Luka and Porzingis together. Yeah. Luka 9,900 on FanDuel, 9,400 on DraftKings. Not getting a lot of ownership. 7% on FanDuel, 5% on DK. Luka's pretty expensive. This is another spot where if I get to Luka, I'm obviously pretty happy with it. I got 27% of him on my first crunch. If he really is 7% owned, sign me up for that. I think he's going to be fantastic. Just having another guy on the floor that is talented will help him out a ton. How do you feel about Luka to start?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the price is a lot, and when I run, well, not a lot relative for his skill, but relative to the rest of the position. And when I run crunches, if whatever lay I get, if it's nothing crazy popping out, I'll probably just keep it. I guess my question is like, where do you see him? What do you have him for minutes like right now? Is the question that I guess I'll ask because there's a lot of guards here. Obviously, he's not going to get played off the floor, but they want to get Brunson and DeLon right now there and Curry involved in it. It's interesting to see where he'll play a lot of the minutes, how much like ball dominant he'll be.
I gave him 34.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I come in at 32, so like same thing pretty much.
yeah.
And yeah, at that point, he comes out as a play that you want to get to a lot of pieces, and you prioritize a little bit then over your centers. And I don't know if I'll do that all that much, but I mean, we know this guy's ceiling and floor, so yeah, it'll be interesting how he plays with Porzingis, and I want to see what they do. Like not this game specifically, but like at points this season in rotations, like Luka might play. I mean, outside of center, all really four other positions when it comes to like defending people, just because of his size. Not today, though, is that much of a concern. But yeah, I think 9,400, if he ends up in your lineups, I probably don't prioritize him. But if he ends up in crunches, I'm not going to like blink any eye, whatever I get.
He's so damn good. I'm so excited to just see him play. And let's not forget here, the Wizards' defense is just putrid. There's not a lot going on here. Mo Wagner, Bertans, they're starting Isaac Bonga. Ish Smith is the point guard. Like, I think that Luke is going to be okay. How do you feel about Porzingis making his way back? 7,700 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DraftKings. I got 7%. We haven't projected for 15 on FanDuel right now. Probably going to need to take a little bit of a look here because right now I have Porzingis' usage, apparently because he's missed so much time, at the league average. I think that he's going to be a little bit higher than 19% usage.
Yeah, definitely. He will be. I have him for 30 minutes. I'm not sure if that's just kind of like a filler that I put in for him.
I have the same right now.
Yeah, so that's something I feel comfortable with having him at. I probably don't get a lot, though, just at the price point right now. We'll see. He's not going to play. I'm trying to think where the minutes I split up for him are. Yeah, it's primarily the four. Like, he's not going to play much of the five. Powell's going to be out, but I think Kleber should start there. And then you have, honestly, Boban will play some minutes. But yeah, it's not a spot that I'm going to get to probably because of pricing. If I had to guess, I haven't ran like an official crunch yet. But if I did, I would expect not to see him. Like pretty much I would have a lot more Luka. And then at that point, really nobody else from this team outside of maybe some Kleber. Porzingis is just like 8,200. I think it's a wait and see for me. And he's not going to pop for me that much. And I don't feel comfortable like bumping up a point per minute on a guy that I really don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah, the DK price is a little tricky. He's 7,700 on FanDuel. He can blow that clear out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah, if he's the same guy, he can definitely do that. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys play off of each other. Like a fun team, but is it going to just make them both thrive or more so just one guy pop up? I think both. So, yeah, FanDuel, that's a spot that I would take the shot. I'm not going to get much on DK.
What does Washington do to stop a pick and roll between those two guys? Or a pick and pop?
I don't even know if Washington, even if it's not Porzingis, like these secondary players on this team, I don't even know if they have something to really stop that. Yeah, there's not much that they can stop. Like this is a walking type of triple-double spot for Luka, and I don't know what to expect too much out of Porzingis, so that's probably where my exposures will lie.
Like if they try to go over the top of this and you get Porzingis either popping out or rolling to the rim, going to find someone like Seth Curry, who shot like 45% from three last year. He'll be chilling in the corner. If they drop off of Luka, he's just going to hit a step back 28-footer and not even worry about it. He's got like the second best step back game behind Harden. I'm so excited to see these guys play together. I pray that Porzingis can stay healthy. Just by bumping up Porzingis's usage to what I would say reasonable 25%, has him blowing up in my projections. If I run another dummy crunch, I'm going to end up with a lot of Porzingis on FanDuel. I hope that ownership stays down. But neither one of those guys is the most owned guy on the Mavs. Maxi Kleber, 26 minutes is what I've got him projected for. He is $3,700 on FanDuel, $4,200 on DraftKings, flat minimum on Yahoo, $8,200 on FantasyDraft. Dwight Powell's out. He's going to have to play a bunch of minutes. He's not like a guy that's going to dominate the ball, but hyper efficient. And at 3,700, I completely understand why he's getting ownership.
Yeah, I understand too. And it's a spot that I'll get to. It's nice that he's power forward eligible. So he'll take up a spot there, but he doesn't have to take up one of your center spots on at least DraftKings. So yeah, 4,200 over on DraftKings. And it's a good spot for him. He's going to grade out well. I have him for, you said 26, I have 28. Just means pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, even better.
So Yeah, he'll pop a little bit more for me right now. I'll look through it again. But like the only guy that's going to play minutes behind him is Boban. So you're not going to usually see, at least that's what I have. You're not going to see Boban running wild behind him.
No.
So yeah, Maxi Kleber at 4,200 on DraftKings. Would you say 37 on FanDuel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, he's a guy who can score 30 points, and that's what you need to win a tournament. And if he scores 25, it doesn't kill you, and he'll probably project out pretty close to that for median.
Right. That's another guy where if he's parked in the corner, he's going to knock that stuff down all day with open looks, because if they're not leaving him, Porzingis is coming to hammer on top of, I don't know who, Mo Wagner. I don't know. Like, yeah, I like Thomas Bryant and all, but Thomas Bryant and Kristaps Porzingis are on pretty different wavelengths, no matter what you think of Bryant.
Yeah, and that exactly, and that's the without a doubt, that's the upside of a guy like Kleber is he doesn't have to just be the center that you're playing at value to hope that you get him like 8-9 rebounds. Like he has the upside to just get you there with 2 threes in this game, really.
Thank God Sal is here. Now Josh Engelman will have to behave, or Sal will drop the knowledge on him. Absolutely right. I tend to not behave on these shows.
You're out of hand. You're out of pocket if you're on the West Coast. I think people say that.
Sometimes. Any other Mavs you want to talk about? I don't really see anybody standing out. Nobody getting a lot of ownership. Anxious to see DeLon Wright, but this is going to be the Luka and Porzingis show.
Yeah, I think on DraftKings, Hardaway Jr.'s price tag is interesting at 42, but the same price tag for Kleber, I'm just going to get there. But I do think there's a route to where Tim Hardaway's that same guy at the same price who will be like the beneficiary as the third option with Powell out.
Somebody mentioned it in chat too. Hardaway is the flat min $10 on Yahoo. I think that's viable, but that wing rotation could really shake out in a bunch of different ways. Whether they prioritize more Justin Jackson, more Dorian Finney-Smith, more Hardaway. I don't think that the Mavs are all that worried about it. They're just going to play whatever stands out to be best. Hardaway could end up getting 30 minutes a game. He could end up getting 18, and it could go either way. Wizards.
What is Kleber projected at, like, ownership? Is he coming in chalky or
27% on FanDuel, which makes a ton of sense, obviously, at 3,700. 7% on DK at 4,200.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, both of those I think are fine.
And now we need to talk about the chalkiest team on the slate. I think the Washington Wizards.
Interesting.
Bradley Beal. He's 9,800 on FanDuel, 8,800 on DK. Projected for 26% ownership on FanDuel, 20 on DraftKings. We've got Thomas Bryant in double digits on FanDuel. We've got Ish Smith for 37% on FanDuel. We've got Isaac Bonga at 30 at the flat minimum on FanDuel, 3,600 on DraftKings. Going to be starting probably. I've got him in for 24 minutes. Feel free to start wherever you think is best. What stands out to you for the Wizards?
Yeah, I mean, just based on some of that ownership for Ish Smith, I'm not too sure that I agree with the ownership that's coming in on Ish Smith because of the price tag. Really, like, you're not getting him at 43 or something crazy. Coming in as a backup right now, I think I still have him for somewhere between 26, 28 minutes. That doesn't really do much for me, especially playing alongside Bradley Beal. I'm not too sure I trust his scoring. So 5,300 of Ish Smith, I'm probably going to be well below that. Bradley Beal, I think, is fine. Like, this is the time of the year where you see his minutes stay in the mid-30s. If not, if it's a game where they need the clutch time at the end of it, he can play 38 minutes. So I like the upside of Beal there. I'm fine with the price point on him relative to some of those other guys. And he's labeled as a shooting guard, which is okay. Like, he'll still be ball dominant and take over, and he should after being paid. So yeah, Beal, I'm fine with whatever I get of him. Ish Smith, I'm going to be under the field on Ish Smith.
Yeah.
And then that's really like where I'm coming out the most. I think Thomas Bryant is okay at the price point because he's dual eligible, but there's other guys that I want to get to. And I'd rather just save a ton of money and go down, or just pay up like $600 more and get to the tier where you have Bam, and then we'll get to in a second, you have guys like Aldridge. So yeah, Bonga, I don't really have a strong take on right now. I have to dig more into him. I know he's not a very favorable point per minute producer, but it's mainly a pricing play. So yeah, the main thing I want is just Beal where he is, and I think I'll take stances on getting less of Ish right now. Where are you coming in on this? Because yeah, Washington, when you said chalkiest on the slate, that surprised me a little bit. I think Mo Wagner's playing, but that shouldn't impact much. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really too crazy about Washington.
No, I didn't get much Beal, but that's not an indictment on Beal. He transcends matchup. Just not how it's working out today. I got neutral on the field on Thomas Bryant. I got 17% Ish Smith on FanDuel, which is fine, but not near the 37% number that we have projected. And then I got 16% Bongo, where we have him at 30. Again, I think that's reasonable. He's a minimum salary guy who has to start and play for a team that just doesn't have enough bodies. One price I do want to point out, Ish Smith is the flat minimum $10 on Yahoo. That is very much in play. He is the starting point guard that will shoot. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't pay off a $10 price tag on Yahoo.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's the thing, the pricing on it. Like he's 5,300. I don't know. In DraftKings, that's not something that I really want to get to. I know he's 32% ownership right now. I think he's the highest owned. I'm not going to be matching that. I'm not going to be coming way under that. Probably.
I'd have zero.
Yeah, I was going to say at half, it's even like, is it worth it at that point? So yeah, it's not like there's no Bradley Beal right next to him. Like, where's your overall usage upside in Ish Smith? Assists to Bradley Beal, maybe some, and then not a very great scorer. So it's a spot where it's tough for me to see him paying off 5,300 to a point where he's going to beat out that ownership number.
No bones about it in chat. Rui should be around 1 point per minute. No? Yeah, you're correct. No. I have him around a half point per minute. Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, to project any rookie at a point per minute is really aggressive. Not going to be one that probably was an overdraft.
Yeah, I just put him at like 0.6 just for the filler of it and not worrying too much about it. But that's about it on that guy.
Yeah, if you're projecting Rui Hachimura for a point per minute, I can't imagine what you project Bradley Beal for. 4? I got Bradley Beal at 144 fantasy points today.
Yeah, I think that 1 point for like what is the baseline for a player? Like what is the baseline for a player? Just point per minute, like an average player, he can't be above that. Like
6 and well change, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say like 0.7 is what my guess would be, or 0.68 somewhere in there.
Last I remember, high sixes. 6. I think actually it might have crested 0.7. Let me think about it. What do I have my possession average at? I can give like half of an answer right now.
Yeah, the point, like in that range, whatever it is, like projecting a rookie who is
0.8, probably around 0.8.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, above average by a wide margin seems aggressive.
Yeah, very, very. Wow, Wizards. Good luck, guys. Good luck. Alrighty, 4 more games to go. This one should probably go pretty quickly because I don't know how to talk about it. Spurs and Knicks. 112 implied total for the Spurs, 102 for the Knicks, second lowest on the slate. Aldridge and DeRozan, 15 and 13% respectively on FanDuel, 16 and 15 on DK. You know what you're getting if you're rostering LaMarcus Aldridge and DeRozan. Aldridge should beast on the Knicks. It's really just, how much upside is there? How much do you want to spend that money? I don't have much interest in anything else for the Spurs. I don't really know how they're going to work in DeJounte Murray. I think he's good, but priced accordingly. They still got Derek White, Bryn Forbes, Jake Puddle starting at center probably. I am going to go ahead and pass. I don't really have much interest in anything from the Spurs.
Yeah, the Spurs, I'll get to Aldridge. So right now, on the other side of this, Mitchell Robinson questionable, Taj Gibson questionable. Even if those guys play, it's not going to really switch me too much. But power forward, I'll get to Aldridge a good amount. I actually do have interest in Murray starting at point guard. It's a spot where, we don't know what to expect totally from it. He's looked good coming off of the injury. I will probably play, I would say, I don't know what the field's at. I'll see what the ownership is. I would probably play, if it's not that high, double the field on him just because this year, similar to last year, what you see with some of those point guards, I know he's not a stereotypical rookie this year, but I just want to get out ahead of some of those guys. And I'll probably take some chances. I think he's in the 5K range and I'll have the most Murray from this team, but it's not going to be a lot. It's just, that's where I come in on this team. And then it'll be Aldridge. I probably don't get much of DeRozan at his price tag.
Yeah, I didn't get any DeRozan. I got neutral to the field on Aldridge. That's about it. Oh God, here it comes. The New York Knicks. Should I put a Knicks hat on to make this go a little bit better? It's sitting next to me. Julius Randle, I guess. I mean, this is the biggest crapshoot of team across the board. They've got like 8 point guards. RJ Barrett, for some reason, is a point guard on DraftKings. They already have Peyton and Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr. I don't know what to do with these guys. I think that Julius Randle is the most likely guy to go crazy of anybody on the Knicks. I have him in for 32 minutes. I have RJ Barrett in for 30. He might play 48 given the way that he was playing during the preseason. Is there anything you want to do with the Knicks?
It's probably just starts and ends at RJ Barrett. I'm probably a little bit more aggressive on him. I have him for 34 minutes right now, splitting between point guard and shooting guard.
Sure.
And at that price point, I'll take stabs on it. But yeah, like even if these guys are out in terms of Robinson and Taj Gibson, you get a bump for a guy like Bobby Portis. I mean, this Knicks team signed every single power forward available in free agency.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We got to pay attention to health today. It's possible we see Robinson out and Taj Gibson out, and if that happens, there really does open up some value.
Yeah, if that happens, if one of the guys is out, Bobby Portis becomes better. If they're both out, Bobby Portis becomes a lot better as the guy to see like all of the center minutes, and then Julius Randle at the 4 will just probably not come off the court all that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now with the way that it's looking, RJ Barrett's the guy that I get to. If one or hopefully if you get both those guys out, it's going to open up a very scary, but the price is good at 5,500 for Bobby Portis to see 30 plus minutes. Right now, RJ Barrett's minutes are enough for me to get there. And that's really about it. I thought that the Alfred Payton signing was really weird with the fact that you already have a guy like Dennis Smith there. And I don't know how these guys just both get on the court enough. So, yeah, the bigs are there. And if there's guys out more times than not throughout the whole season, if those guys are going to be injured, then it's going to open up a lot more value for the other guys.
Yeah, that's going to be the key piece to pay attention to. We really just need to see them and see what their rotation looks like. Does Wayne Ellington get on the floor? Is Frank Ntilikina just on ice? That's where minutes open up. Kevin Knox was playing 36 minutes a game at points last year. I've got him in for 22 today. I have no idea what they're going to do with him. Who knows how they haven't named a point guard starter. It could be anybody. I assume it's Dennis Smith. It could just as easily be Alfred Payton. It wouldn't even shock me if it was Frank Ntilikina if they were just trying to trade him. I have no idea what they're going to do. No clue whatsoever.
Yeah, this team, that's exactly like the best way to put it. Like the first game of the NBA season, some of these rotations, I mean, I think for the best part, like we can kind of figure them out. This one, like there's 8 guys who can realistically go out there and play 30 minutes a night, or one guy can play 30 minutes a night. Like it's kind of all over the board. The guy I trust the most to get secure minutes is Barrett, then Randall. So that's where I lean right now with these injuries. And then after that, not much. Like Mitchell Robinson might be like bias-wise, like a top 2 favorite player for me in the league, but them going and getting Bobby Portis, it's going to just cap his upside.
Yeah. Not to mention, I think the Knicks are going to struggle to create a shot. And say what you will about the Spurs, but this is a team that is basically all the same guys for years, playing for arguably the best coach in the NBA. They're bringing back DeJounte Murray, who, if he is anything, is a fantastic defender. I mean, these guys they're not going to be like rusty. They are going to come in and be a well-oiled defensive machine. And the Knicks are just like the worst. Like, it's as if you played NBA 2K and did a really bad job. You're just like, oh, exactly. Shit, I have 7 power forwards now. Wasn't paying attention. Like, forgot I signed all these guys.
Exactly. Like, I literally, while it happened, watched them just keep signing them. Then I forgot because the NBA just disappears for months. And then literally looked at their depth chart like a month and a half ago, and was like, this really happened.
Yeah.
Like, they went out there and just shot their shot for every single power forward, most of which there are no standouts outside of maybe Randall. So, yeah, it's just a mess of a team. And that's a good point to bring up. Like, the matchup for an individual spot for each of them is pretty brutal. I think RJ Barrett excels a little bit more so there as well, but he's also a rookie that we can't trust confidently yet. And nothing in the preseason really led us to go there, except he just played a ton of minutes to look productive.
Yep.
So that's where I kind of stop and end with Barrett right now.
Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder. A little bit of a new look there. 116 implied total for the Jazz, 107 for the Thunder. A little bit of ownership coming in for the Jazz. All 5 guys, Gobert, Conley, Mitchell, Ingles, Bogdanovich. Double digits in exposure on both FanDuel and DraftKings. If I look at my dummy crunch from FanDuel just for the Jazz, I did get all 5 of those guys, most being Mike Conley. I got to Joe Ingles a little bit, but everybody else is relatively in single digits. I don't really know how to shake out the Utah Jazz. Does anybody stand out to you?
Yeah, so the problem with Gobert is I would love to play him at this price tag, but just Vooch and Drummond right next to him in the pricing, I could already know that I'm not going to get there just what those guys are going to do on a permanent basis, especially Drummond. Conley shakes out a little bit. He's probably the guy that I would get to the most here. And you have a lot of guys who are going to see like middling in the 20s or so potentially today, like a Jeff Green that's very cheap, but not a guy I want to get to in tournaments. He'll grade out as like good quote unquote value, but not much upside there. Yeah, it's probably Bojan. It's probably first Mike Conley and then Bogdanovich. And it's probably it. Like, I don't want to get to Donovan Mitchell at that price point, and I haven't been getting to him regardless. So yeah, it stops at those two guys for me. Gobert, I would love to play, but just relative to the slate, not going to get there center only.
Yeah.
And that's what you said you were. You said you had Conley and what, Bogdanovich?
Yeah, Conley just south of where the field was. I've roughly 20%, 10% Ingles, everybody else in single digits. If all of these guys are like roughly 20% owned, I have a hard time getting there for all of them. That's a lot of Jazz guys. Like, I like them. I expect them to be better than Oklahoma City here, but from a DFS perspective, I don't really have a lot of confidence in any one guy. They all look relatively similar to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like Joe Ingles' role on this team is probably going to be back to not last year's role, the year before.
Yeah.
We'll see how that like moves forward just because Bogdanovich is there. But yeah, I agree with that. It's Conley, but Conley's at a favorable price point. I'll say that. So that's probably where it is. And then Bogdanovich, and it's just because he's somewhat cheap and can shoot a shot and he's small forward eligible.
Yeah, not to mention having Bojan and Ingles and Donovan Mitchell out there, a little bit of a different story for him than it's been for the Grizzlies for a while. So Conley's going to have a lot more talent to play with. It's just really hard to pick any of these guys out. I don't really know. You got to assume that Mitchell's usage comes down a bit now that Conley is there. They need to sort of redistribute some shots a little bit. I like the team. I think they're a naturally good 5 guys to look at, but if they're getting 100% aggregate ownership between those 5 guys on FanDuel, I just can't get that much.
Yeah, I think that's completely fine. I want to see like nothing DFS for this day right here, but I want to see how they use, because they do have like good depth in terms of defensive players. I want to see how they use guys like Moutier if he even steps on the court tonight, but that's nothing in terms of DFS.
Yeah, I have him as the backup point guard.
Yeah, I would expect him to be that, just probably capped at like 15 minutes.
Chris Paul, 24% owned on FanDuel, 25 on DK. Gallo, 30 and 26. Gilgeous-Alexander getting a little love on FanDuel. Not totally sure I understand that. Schroeder at 4,100 on DraftKings is at 20%. He's 8K on FantasyDraft too, so I want to point that out. How are you feeling about the relatively chalky Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari?
Yeah, so Paul's price point, at least on DraftKings, when he comes in at 7,400, is not somebody right now, but I have to go through and just try and figure out what to give this guy's like a point per minute number to start the year on this new team. Because I mean, if I go off of last year at this price point, and also just taking into account a matchup that's not that great for them, it's not a spot. And if I bump this up right here just a little bit to see, even if I bump up the matchup for what he has right now, it's not a spot that I probably get to where the field is right now. If anything, I would get to a little bit more Gallo, because I think he plays some of the 4 minutes here, or a good amount. Let me see. And he's small forward eligible, which is always a bump. Yeah, he'll play all of the 4 minutes pretty much is where he'll be. And when I can put him into a small forward spot, just lineup construction wise, I like that. 7,100, it's right where Bam is though, and I would probably prefer Bam, who will be more center active. Same thing with Aldridge, not playing all the center minutes, but a good amount more than Gallinari. But you get more shooting upside. So yeah, Gallo's a guy who I probably have in that exposure range of maybe around the 20% range with guys like Bam and LaMarcus Aldridge, and the fact that he's small forward eligible is a bump there for DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm not going to get all the way to that 30% number on Gallo, but I think 15 to 20 works. This is a real tough matchup. Jazz are really good defensively. Not having Favors is going to hurt, but Ed Davis as the backup center is still very functional from a defensive perspective. They're just good. Royce O'Neal, we didn't even mention, but another good defender. Jeff Green, another good defender. I just don't want to go crazy too much on OKC. Any interest in Schroeder at 4,100 just because of that price tag?
Yeah, because of the price tag, I have interest in that. And you said the ownership is following it, right?
Yes, 19%.
Yeah, like it's more times than not probably not going to do anything for you in a tournament, but he's the type of guy that at that price point can just get hot and have a 30-plus point game. More times than not, like he'll have 20, 22, and probably doesn't do it for you. But yeah, I think that small doses of him is fine. That ownership, though, probably not what I want.
Yeah, same here. I don't have much else to say about Oklahoma City. 107 implied total, just not all that awesome. Going to Utah for the opener against a team that should be much improved. This is going to be the big one, at least from an action standpoint. We got a hustle here. Phoenix and Sacramento, 116.25 implied total for the Suns, 117.75 for the Kings, highest total on the slate. We'll start on the Phoenix side. Kelly Oubre at 10%, Devin Booker at 9%, but not really getting a ton of ownership for Phoenix. I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that everybody seems to be priced where they should be. Is there a piece of Phoenix you want here in a game that should be just an absolute track meet?
Yeah, I want Kelly Oubre at that ownership. I like it for the price point. I
Yeah.
want like pieces of this game in general because of the track meet, because of both teams really not going to play all that much defense, especially with some of these guards. So I like Oubre. I like his size just for his matchup. And then, yeah, if you get to Booker, it's the same thing as we've been saying with Luka, at least for me, is if I get to Booker and he's going to play 34 minutes or so in this game, if not more, and have a neutral to good matchup for his skill set. I mean, he just has to knock down shots. It's fine for me in this. You're really relying on the shots, though. Not much is going to be created after that. So I probably get to the most Kelly Oubre in this spot and then just looking elsewhere. Not much. Like Frank Kaminsky will play maybe like 18, 20 minutes, but that's not enough to get into any lineups. Don't really have interest in Ayton for his matchup. It's actually, in my opinion, a bad matchup for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Oubre and then Booker for me, and I probably end up with a lot more Oubre in that price range.
There we go. I doubled up the ownership on FanDuel for Oubre. Got the 14% Booker, so I'm a little heavier there. Didn't really get to anybody else. And oddly enough, I didn't really get to a lot of the Sacramento side.
Okay.
Roughly like 6% Fox, Bagley, Heald, a little bit of Barnes, Bogdanovich. It's just a lot of guys. And I think that these guys are priced accordingly. Highest ownership is 7% for De'Aaron Fox. Nobody else is above that number on either site. Again, I want pieces of it, but I don't see any piece that just stands out from a price perspective. They're going to play at an incredible pace, but I can't just pick one of these guys for volume because it could you could really like Buddy Hield and then Bogdanovich can go for 40 because that's just how the game's working out. They oddly have too much talent now. Go Kings.
Yeah. Yeah, they're priced right. Like I looked at this yesterday because we were talking before. Their lineup came out yesterday. Then I looked at the salaries this morning for the first time, and I was like, no Harry Giles. I was very excited to see what Marvin Bagley's price point would be, hoping it'd be like 6,600 or something. It's at 7,200 on DK, and it's just tough to get to. I still probably get the most of Bagley. Somewhere I'll probably come in around like 15% ownership on him. He's a guy that I probably just have personal biases towards, but I like just the individual matchup for him. And then after that, it's Dedmon. And honestly, it's Dedmon, but again, center eligible. Like he's very cheap. Out of all these centers that you can kind of go down and get a cheap center for, he's like $1,000 less than Miles Turner. He's probably the guy I get to. It's just a matter of how many minutes do they throw him out there for. But I think he sees a decent amount. He does have somewhat of a ceiling on him and he can shoot. So it would be first for me, Marvin Bagley, then Dedmon. But I agree, like they're all priced appropriately. And the issue with Dedmon is he's not I think he used to be power forward eligible, and now he's not.
Yeah.
He's just, which is a concern.
Yeah, it's like I got a little bit of them, but nothing too crazy. I can't find anybody that is just totally breaking free from the pack. I do want to have exposure to this game though, and probably a little bit more than I have now. So it's something I want to dig into. Yeah,
and then the other thing I'll say is because I got questions like this morning early, just like on Twitter and stuff, about people coming in from NFL, from MLB, like just stacking like these types of games. And like the main reason you're stacking, at least in my opinion, is, I mean, obviously we know it's a good pace in total spot, but you're banking on this game being like the one of 6% of games that go to overtime.
Yeah.
Because like the need to have 4 or 5 players from this game is not there. Like there's no actual correlation like in the other sports. You're just trying to take advantage of a game that has a high total. But if you look around, there's like 4 or 5 other games that are like 1 or 2 points lower. So yeah, get 2 players if you want. 3 is like sort of starts pushing it for me. But you don't need a stack just for the people that are like new from NFL. I think that's going to be a question for a lot of people because the last 6 months, all you hear is stacking NBA, MLB and stacking NFL, but it's not as much correlated in NBA, if at all, really.
That's a very good point. Final game, and then we got to get out of here for Laffy and Spags taking a look at Week 8 NFL ownership. Portland Trailblazers, Denver Nuggets. Blazers 1.5-point favorites at home. This is the debut for Hassan Whiteside, 7,300 on FanDuel, 7K on DK. We know what we've got with Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum. Zach Collins likely to see a big boost in minutes, 4,600 on FanDuel. If I take a look at my exposures, didn't get a ton of Lillard, McCollum, or Whiteside. I do have exposure to those guys. The guy I got the most on FanDuel, Zach Collins, 20%, twice the field as of right now. Just think the minutes are there, and at 4,600, it's easy to fill. What do you like from the Blazers?
Yeah, so the Blazers side of it, I'm probably we all know like what Whiteside's ceiling is. He should be out there for a decent amount of the minutes. I have him right now at 26 minutes to Collins 22. Do you have a different split there?
Say that again.
I have 26 for Whiteside and 22 for Collins.
I have way more minutes coming in for Collins.
Okay, then I have to completely. This is like a spot that I didn't know what they're going to do with Whiteside all that much.
So I think that Collins is going to be the backup center and still play minutes at the 4.
Okay, yeah. So I had 20 minutes. I had 22 minutes at center, and then I have 10 for him at power.
Oh, okay. Then we are on this. Then we're on the same page. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's. I gave Whiteside 28. I gave Collins the other 20, and then I have him playing 10 at power forward.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we're pretty much at the. Yeah, I saw that too. So yeah, I was looking at the center column. So yeah, I think that into account, Whiteside's probably not a guy that I get to just because of the center position. And honestly, like his former teammate Bam, I probably get to because he'll fit into a power forward spot. And then, yeah, Zach Collins is the main guy that I'm looking at in terms of just popping for somebody that's of value in the 5,400 range. He'll fit into multiple spots, 5,400 for him. I don't really have interest in Lillard at all. I wouldn't be shocked if I get 0.
Yeah.
Like yesterday to start was the first time I maxed out the mini max. It was like a 150 for $1, and it was not a great tournament in terms of trying to bink something up top, but good just to try and mess around with some of the exposures. So if I do that today, I would be shocked if I got more than just the way that it was working. Like it's only a 2-game slate, but like 5% to 10% of Lillard. I'll probably even come in less, right around there. And then McCollum will be sort of the same thing. It'll be Zach Collins the most, but then sprinkles of like a 7-8% Whiteside if I had to imagine it. And yeah, by next week when we do this, I'll do a dummy crunch just to kind of see how that looks in the beginning, like you're doing, because that's a good thing to have handy.
All right, close it out. Any thoughts on the Nuggets?
Yeah, I mean, we hit on it at the beginning. It's Jokic, it's Embiid, and it's Towns at the top end. I think right now, and this is not to knock Jokic, but I would probably be going Embiid, then Towns, and Jokic if you told me to pick. But if I had to guess, there might be like all in the mid-20s in ownership, if not a little bit higher. They'll probably weigh each other down for that reason. But no real interest in Jamal Murray at that price tag. I think there's other spots that you can go. I think if you have small doses of him, it's okay. But then nothing else really stands out. I think that Paul Millsap's price tag stands out as a guy who should play somewhere around 26 to 28 power forward minutes in this matchup. And I think that when you consider this matchup for him, you'll probably get him facing up against like Mario Hezonja, Anthony Tolliver, and Zach Collins at the 4, whatever they run out there at the 4 for this game. So I think Paul Millsap is, outside of Jokic, the guy gets the most, not anywhere in the 20% range, but I actually like his individual matchup a lot, and he can cycle in just sort of some 5 minutes. So those are the two guys primarily. I don't really have interest in the guards. I like this team as a whole, and that's really where it stands. I think Paul Millsap, that matchup is dominant for him.
There we go. I did not get much of these guys, no more than 5% on anyone for the Nuggets. So that closes us out. 11 games up, 11 games down. We are about to turn this over to Dave Loughran and Chris Spags to talk about some NFL. Sal, anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
No, that's it. Best of luck, everybody. It's a slate where watch the lineups because a lot of these things can just get twisted. Yesterday, we already had 2 things, Rondo and then Patrick Patterson. So don't overreact to some things, but you got to watch the news because it's the beginning of the NBA season, and it's probably going to be wild by the time 6:30 comes. There
you go, everybody. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining us. We had a huge crowd in here this morning. I will be back tomorrow morning with Adam. Tune into the rest of the content throughout the day. Pop into Slack if you're a premium sub. We will talk to you later. Thanks, guys.